those games that came out a few years ago that I guess really snuck onto my radar was State of Decay. It was this game by Undead Labs. It was a Microsoft kind of in-house deal, but was it? It wasn't sure. But it was a budget title that came out. It was around the zombie time where every game had zombies in some capacity, and it really kind of just came in with the wave. Yet the one thing that stood out to me was how well they managed to balance both the zombie world and the mechanics. It didn't have the fun factor and the over-the-top ostentatiousness of a Dead Rising, but it still had a little bit of that. But it also managed to nail a lot of the survival elements that a lot of these other games had kind of ignored. State of Decay 2 comes out, another feature of the Xbox Game Pass, and it's a fantastic continuation of the series. Be it just a little bit, suffering the same issues that the original game had. Basically, the premise of the story is zombies have taken over the world. Blah, 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 as per usual, as is the premise of a zombie game. You play as one of two main, you've got two pairs of people that you can choose from. You have 4 different pairs that you can pick, and each one offers a different kind of both personality characteristic and physical characteristic. So some may be particularly strong, some may be particularly witty, whatever the case may be, or they'll have a particular set of skills that you can use to build your particular base or like to build your community. Over time, you go through your tutorial, you're at a military base. From that point onwards, it's basically you start to build a little community. You find survivors in the world. You find different people to trade with. You take over outposts to build the abilities of your different communities and also to offer you some kind of respite areas amongst the different areas of the world. And as you spread across, the actual main game of the idea of the game is to build a legacy. So whoever you pick as your sheriff or your main character will have a different legacy to pass on to the world. And that is how you actually go about completing the game, which I think is a fantastic way to handle a game like this. I mean, how do you set an endpoint on a game where things are randomly generated? All these different events are happening. There's 3 or 4 different maps to choose from when it comes to actually picking what map you're setting your camps in. So it really does add that nice little twist to it. Then those characters can also be used as legacy characters once you start a new community. So it's a really fantastic way to do this kind of game. The only thing is a little bit clunky and a little bit, how do I say it delicately? There's some bugs, just a couple. So sometimes you'll find that for whatever reason, the companion you're with will get caught somewhere. Sometimes you'll find, like zombies will just randomly appear out of nowhere. Like the way that it actually does zombie patterns seems to be very random. Like sometimes you'll just be at your base and suddenly all these zombies will show up. And yes, there is an alert meter at your base, and that's probably another part of the game that we should really go into detail in a sec. But the bugs are still there. They're different than they were, and it can be a little bit clunky when you're both driving and when you're fighting, but it still nails what it's trying to do. At no point does it feel so unplayable or so broken that it's not enjoyable. And building a community in itself has been great fun. Rationalizing whether you need a workshop over an infirmary, or do you increase the farms you have, or do you go and find a way to bring power to your base for the cost of X amount of fuel per day kind of thing, in order to build specific facilities and utilities in your base, is fantastic. Not to mention balancing the skills of your survivors. So all of your survivors have 5 main skills: cardio, fighting, running, that kind of thing. So it really, there's always the last slot. So giving them some kind of special skill helps build your base. You want obviously as wide a spread of skills as you can to have the best access to all the facilities. And over time you'll start to move your bases and build different things. And honestly, I've played like at least 100 hours of it at the moment, and I get the feeling that I'm just going to keep playing it and starting new bases. Add on the fact that it's 4-player co-op and you can jump into people's worlds and help them out for like currency in game and items and things like that. And it really is just the quintessential zombie game made perfect, polished up, not polished perfectly, but polished up a lot, and turned into what is going to be probably one of the longest standing zombie games of all time. Plus, it's on Game Pass, plus it's a budget title. Fantastic value for money and definitely worth a look.